I never thought I'd see something like that, not in my own house. My name is Jack. I'm 22 years old, and if there's one thing life has taught me early on, it's that nothing is as it seems. When I was 14, my mother died in a brutal car accident. I still remember the echo of the phone call, my father's silence afterward, and how our home turned from warm to cold in a matter of hours. For a few years, it was just me and Dad. He was a quiet man, the kind who expressed love through actions, not words. He tried his best, but the grief had broken him in ways he never admitted. Then came Rachel. She entered our lives when I was 17. My dad met her through some business circle, and within a year, she became my stepmom. She was only 10 years older than me, beautiful, elegant, confident, someone who seemed to carry her own light. At first, I didn't mind her. She was kind, cooked well, and made an effort to connect with me. But slowly, her presence started to feel different. There was something unsettling behind that perfect smile, a look in her eyes that lingered too long, a hand on my shoulder that didn't feel motherly, and compliments that sounded like something more than familial affection. At 18, I tried brushing it off as imagination. At 19, I started avoiding being alone in a room with her. At 20, I knew something wasn't right, and yet I never told anyone, not even Dad. But everything changed the day I came home early from college. Part 2. A Glimpse into the Forbidden. It was a rainy Thursday. My last lecture got canceled, so I took the early train and reached home around 3 p.m. The house looked strange. Lights dimmed, curtains half drawn, and an eerie silence wrapped around every wall. I placed my bag on the couch and walked toward the hallway. That's when I heard something, muffled voices. I paused. The sound was coming from the living room. As I stepped closer, my heart dropped. There she was, Rachel, barely dressed, her back arched, laughter in her throat. And with her was Rob, my father's business partner, a man who had been to our house countless times, sat at our dinner table, and joked around like an uncle. They didn't see me, not at first. I was frozen. My body refused to move, my mind screaming at me to run or shout. But I did neither. Seconds later, Rachel's eyes met mine. She didn't gasp. She didn't panic. She just smiled. "Jack," she said, as if she'd just caught me skipping class. It's not what it looks like. But it was. It was exactly what it looked like. I turned around and walked upstairs, shutting the door behind me. My hands were trembling, my chest heavy. I didn't know if I was angry, sad, or disgusted. Probably all three. The next morning, I tried acting normal, ate breakfast, got ready for college. But inside, my mind was spinning. Rachel didn't mention anything about yesterday. She just smiled, served me toast, and acted like nothing had happened. That freaked me out more than the act itself. Later that evening, when Dad was out meeting a client, she knocked on my door. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. She came in anyway. She stood there for a moment looking unsure, which was rare for her. "Jack, about yesterday. It was a mistake. Rob and we go back a long. It just happened. Please don't tell your father." I looked at her, trying to read her face. Was she afraid, guilty, or just trying to control the damage? "I'm not going to tell him," I said. She looked relieved. "Thank you. I made a bad choice, but I don't want to destroy your father." I nodded, but deep down I was thinking, you already did. That night I couldn't sleep, not because of what I saw, but because of what she said, and how easily she believed I'd stay silent. It wasn't just her secret anymore. Part 4. Temptation in Shadows. Over the next few days, something changed. Rachel wasn't nervous anymore. In fact, she was bolder. She'd touch my arm lightly when no one was looking, lean a little too close when talking. One evening, while Dad was away on a business trip, She sat next to me on the couch and put on some wine. To fresh starts, she said, raising a glass. To lies, I replied, taking a sip anyway. We talked about nothing and everything, about college, life, regrets. She laughed, and I saw something real for the first time. You know, Jack, she said, tilting her head, you're more like your father than you realize. I'm not sure that's a good thing. She smiled. It is, trust me. I knew what was happening. I should have walked away, but I didn't. That night, nothing physical happened, but something inside me shifted. I wasn't the boy hiding from his stepmom anymore. I was playing a game with her, a dangerous one. Days passed, and the boundary between right and wrong started to blur. Rachel and I never talked about that night again, but the silence between us wasn't empty. It was heavy, full of glances, almost touches, and unspoken thoughts. One rainy evening, the power went out. I was in the kitchen, lighting candles, when Rachel came in wearing a loose shirt, no bra, wet hair clinging to her skin. She looked at me, her eyes lingering just a second too long. Looks like it's just the two of us tonight, she said, voice soft, almost playful. I guess so, I said, trying to keep my cool. We sat on the couch again, lit only by candlelight. The storm outside raged. Inside, it was worse. Ever wonder how different life could have been? She asked suddenly. All the time? If I wasn't married to your father, if we met somewhere else, would you have looked at me the same way? I turned to her, heart pounding. Probably worse. She laughed. Honest? I didn't answer. She leaned in, her hand brushing mine. My breath caught. We shouldn't, I whispered. I know, she said. But neither of us moved. That moment was the edge of the cliff, and we jumped. The first time was like breaking something sacred. Afterward, neither of us spoke for hours. Rachel sat with her knees drawn to her chest, eyes wide. I was pacing the room. What have we done? She whispered. We crossed the line. She nodded slowly. We can't do this again. And we both meant it. For a few days, we avoided each other. I stayed late at college. She stayed locked in her room. But guilt is a weak prison. One look, one long evening. And we were back at the edge and fell again. This wasn't about love. It was about everything we'd suppressed. And about love. It was about everything we'd suppressed. And every time we tried to stop, the silence only got louder. I started noticing things in Rachel, restlessness, mood swings. She'd get angry at Dad over little things, then act distant with me. Guilt was eating her. One night while Dad was away, I confronted her. We have to stop. She looked at me, tears threatening. Do you think I don't know that? Then why don't we? She whispered. Because I don't know who I am anymore. That hit me harder than anything. She wasn't evil. She was just lost, like me. We had created a storm neither of us could control. That night, we didn't touch. We just sat, two broken people, unsure of what we had become. It was bound to happen. One Sunday afternoon, Dad came home early. Rachel was in my room, not doing anything wrong, just sitting there, talking. But our body language betrayed us. Dad froze at the door. What's going on? Rachel stood up. Nothing. He looked at me. Jack, I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Dad's eyes moved between us, and everything clicked. I knew something was wrong, he said. His voice didn't rise, but it shook. Get out, he said to Rachel. She tried to speak, but he raised a hand. I said get out. That night, he left. Just like that. No yelling, no drama, just gone. Rachel and I didn't speak for weeks. Dad cut off all communication. Friends started asking questions. I started avoiding everyone. The guilt was suffocating. Rachel tried to apologize. To me, to Dad, but nothing helped. The damage was done. I moved out eventually, started therapy, tried to rebuild whatever I could from the pieces. Rachel disappeared from my life. Last I heard, she moved to another city. Now, a year later, I think about that summer often, not with lust, not with hate, but with a kind of quiet sadness. We were two people who made a horrible mistake, driven by loneliness, confusion, and weakness. I don't excuse what we did, but I understand it, and I've spent every day since then trying to be someone better, someone my father could be proud of again. Some scars never fade, but they remind you, never touch the fire again.